Welcome to the intersection of city politics and everyday life. I'm Brian Lehrer. With 4 million women in our city of 8 million people, one might expect the 51-member city council to be half women, more or less. Not even close. The council we elected in November will contain just 11 women, down from the current 13, and that's down from 18 in 2009. The ratio, 1 woman for every 4 male legislators, is about the same as in the House and Senate in Washington. But in our relatively progressive city, why aren't more women on the council? And how does this gender chasm affect the city's priorities? Also, at this unique historical moment, when men's abuse of power is becoming even more clear, what's it like to be a councilwoman? Black, white, Latina, Asian, in the City Hall Men's Club. I am embarrassed to say that we can fit more than a third of the 2018 council's female members around our one small table. Joining us, co-chair of the City Council Women's Caucus, Helen Rosenthal. Her 6th district covers Manhattan's Upper West Side. Representing District 16 in the West Bronx, we're joined by Council Member Vanessa Gibson. From District 1, the lower tip of Manhattan, Council Member Margaret Chin is here. And Council Member Laurie Cumbo joins us as well. She is also co-chair of the Women's Caucus, and her Brooklyn District 35 includes Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, and more. Welcome, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Council Member Gibson, let me start with you.
Sure.
Why, at this time when it seems like more women are running for office nationwide as a response to Donald Trump's election and the Women's March and everything, are there fewer in New York City?
I think it's a challenge that we continue to struggle with. Obviously, the City Council and the 51 members should always be reflective of the diversity and the population in the city of New York. And I would say that it's a challenge for women to run for office. It's a challenge balancing the daily needs as women and mothers and wives and so many of the tasks that we undertake. But I can say that we do it. And so it's sad that we're going into a new term where we are just a mighty 11 women. But what I will say is what we lack in quantity, we certainly make up in the quality of women that we have in the council now and also the council that we will have. It's a real challenge. I do think, women are stepping up a lot more. If you look at all of the cases of allegations of, sex abuse and sexual misconduct, the Women's March, and so many women that are stepping up and saying, I too can do the same thing. I'm a single mother, I'm a college student, but I can run for office as well. So I think while we are few in numbers, I think we are certainly role models for so many women across the city.
Anyone else on why the numbers are down?
Well, I think there's no coincidence that, as the number of women in the council has declined consecutively over the last 3 terms, the voter turnout similarly has declined in New York City. And you talk about that a lot on your show. And, I think the truth of the matter is it really is an old boys club. There are lots of remnants of that in New York City politics. But as my colleague says, women, we need to, and women need to use their energy, their enthusiasm, and engage in the process, and, we'll talk about it later, but there's no mystery in running, even though it seems like there could be.
Mm-hmm. I think also one of the things that I noticed is that of the body of us in the city council, that it was the majority of the women that were actually the ones that had tough races this year. And when I think of Helen's race, when I think of Margaret's race, myself, Elizabeth Crowley, council member Debbie Rose, many of us had really tough races. So the vast majority of the women in the city council, with the exception of Councilmember Gibson and Councilmember Kosowitz, had serious races. So it's not just a matter of running, but it's a matter of keeping us there once we get there, because I believe that people see that, oh, it's a woman, just by nature, she's vulnerable, and I'm going to use this as an opportunity to run against that particular woman. And I think that we saw that, and you see that now in the speaker's race for the city council. There are no women running, but all of the men that are running, they also didn't have serious races or challengers that year, which allowed them to prepare for a speaker's race where the majority of the women in the city council did not have that luxury.
Councilmember Chin, there was a female speaker, obviously being term limited out now, Melissa Mark Viverito, and before that, Christine Quinn. Is there an accumulated legacy after, I guess it's 12 years of women as speaker, of gender-aware policies that have come out of City Council, would you say?
I think so. I mean, they're looking at even just this term. We also have female council member heading up, major committees. Public safety, Vanessa, and also our finance chair was a woman of color, Jalissa. So I think that showing, women leadership and also getting a lot of major legislation that are passed that have never been talked about in terms of even paid sick leave, expanding that, feminine hygiene products. This was accomplished this term. But I think for women, it's our responsibility as female council member that we have to help build that pipeline. And this term, when you see that Councilmember Mendez and our speaker, they were successful in having female successor in their seats. So we also have to challenge our male colleague that they also have to work with us to make sure that they help support a woman, to take their place when they are term limited out. And that will help us build a stronger number of women in the council.
Melissa, though, does leave two important legacies. If you look at the staff makeup in the council today, roughly half are women. My expectation...
Even the male member staffs, you're saying?
No, the central staff of the council.
Okay.
So, no. And that's interesting, too, sort of which of the male speakers have female staff members and what positions they have them in. But no, the central staff, about half are women. I think that was part of Melissa's legacy, as well as the Young Women's Initiative, which is a brilliant program that she started.
Did any of you see that there were no women initially running for speaker when there are 8 candidates and they're all men, and think, gosh, maybe there's an opening here. All those men could split the vote, and I'm going to walk in and compete.
I'd like to make an announcement today.
You can do it on this show.
I think running an aggressive campaign, and we all had to be out there campaigning, and Councilmember Gibson, God bless her, was out there campaigning with us to make sure that we could stay in our prospective seats. So we were really a divided body in that way, and not having the opportunity to help one another, because I wanted to be out there with Margaret. I wanted to be out there with Helen. I wanted to help all of my colleagues, but we were all waging our own particular battles.
And I think that gets back to the old boys club. I mean, why in my race, why is it that it was allowed? That's a gross generalization, but for me to be bullied as a candidate.
Right.
Same with you.
Right.
Same with you. Same with Liz. I mean, the literature that Liz faced was offensive, and misogynist. And yet, in these speaker, speaker candidates, none had primaries. Were they protected? Was somebody looking out for them? I don't know. But I do know that among us, we do have each other's backs and want to look out for each other, but there aren't necessarily many more people in positions of power who can do that for us.
Did you feel you were bullied during your race? Was your opponent a woman?
My opponent was a woman, ran a very aggressive campaign that was very nasty, that was very, it was untruthful. It's what happens in races when someone doesn't really have a track record of accomplishment.
But if you were a
use
male
that.
incumbent with the same issues dividing the district, do you think it would have been different?
Oh, yeah.
You want to say?
I think
sorry,
it would have been very different, and I don't think that people would have allowed that in the same way as they do when it appears with a woman candidate. And I just want to add, one of the things that I think that we have to do is that what was so exciting was to see the Women's March, was to see women united all across this country and all across the world. But how do we then transition the optics of a march and a rally and protest into supporting candidates that are women that can actually get into position to change the policies that we're fighting for. And I think that there was a big disconnect because all of our campaigns should have been the Women's March, like
district by district.
personified,
Yeah.
like women should have been out in droves, and we didn't really see that. On my campaign, it was probably an equal amount of men and women working on my campaign, and it should have been more.
Councilmember Chin, you wanted to add something?
Well, I think that in my race, I mean, my opponent, they had no record.
Right.
No record. But
Male or female?
the two main one was male. I mean, the main one was a male. Absolutely no record in the community. But the supporter that came behind them were critical. And the kind of lies and misinformation, fake news was all over the place.
Right.
And if I was a male council member, I probably would not have gotten hit like that.
Right.
But I'm glad we won and we fought back. But I think it's like for us as women, we also have to challenge our male colleagues. Because if there are qualified women running in different districts, they also have to take a stand.
Yeah.
And when in the last election, we saw male candidates running in districts where there are qualified women.
Yes.
But they did not step aside.
So now there are these 8 male speaker candidates,
Right.
and I understand they all came before the Women's Caucus. Were you all in that meeting?
I think you were still on maternity
on
leave,
maternity
but
leave.
we were.
Councilmember Gibson, what did you ask them? What did you want to know from them? What did the group want to know from them?
So because we were a mighty 12 of women council members, we put together a really comprehensive list of different priorities and target areas that focused on leadership positions, committee chair positions, as well as central staff, as well as women's issues in terms of policy, women's health, sexual health education, a women's choice to choose, a number of different issues that the City Council Women's Caucus has really championed through our tenure. And when we met with each of the candidates, we provided that list prior to them coming in so they had a chance to really respond. And then when they came before the council members, we were also able to ask them specifically, what is your profile? Where do you stand on women? And also for me, what's really, really important is the reflection of the city council as it relates to positions of influence.
Yes.
Are you going to have women leading the council next to you as a speaker candidate? So for us, it was very, very important because while a lot of the priorities are really coming out in the spirit of the speaker's race, but for me, it's an understanding of who that person is. Because we've been working together all these years as a colleague, but do we really know where they stand on issues as it affects women? So
Right.
that's what we really wanted to understand.
And do they put their money where their mouth is?
Right.
What's their
Right.
staff makeup
Absolutely.
today?
And I gather that in the meeting you asked for half of the leadership positions in the council. I imagine that means chair of powerful committees, be women.
Right, so we extracted 2 concessions. So although we didn't endorse as a group. One is that because there are so few of us, we really need a staff person for the Women's Caucus that is paid for out of the central staff to promote our issues. Right now,
Right.
Laurie and I as co-chair, our staff, we're so under-resourced now.
That's right.
So to have a real staff person there to do the press, to do research, policymaking, I think would be incredibly helpful. And the second thing we talked about, and pretty much all of them either explicitly or to some degree, agreed to have, thinking of leadership as the top tier committees, deputy leader positions, and I guess those two big things, and probably B&T,
Right.
but
So-
also central staff, that be half.
And so you didn't endorse as a caucus. You said,
Right.
have any of you endorsed individually for speaker? Have you?
We haven't endorsed formally, no.
Any of you? Nobody? Nobody?
No.
Not yet?
I'm the
I
only
think-
one who's
yeah.
out.
For
I've been supporting Mark Levine for the last 3 years.
in your neighboring district to the
Yes.
north in Manhattan.
So I've gotten to work with him very closely. I've seen his skill set and would love for him to lead our body. But this is a vote of 51 members.
Have there been any Me Too moments in city council? We know there have been in Congress. Anything revealed so far? Anybody want to break any news or anything coming out? So
No.
that's That's a good thing.
That's an excellent thing.
Assuming it doesn't mean that there are secrets still being kept. It's a good thing.
Yeah, that's right.
I would say
right.
that I've had incredible working relationships throughout the city council with my colleagues and with staff, and I would say, as far as my experiences go, it's been an exemplary body that's very respectful of its women colleagues, very supportive, and it's been a pleasure and an honor to work with them. And I hope that as the council continues to grow and flourish, that we continue that, because there have to be spaces and places that are held to a higher standard that people can be inspired by, but also to understand what standards and ethics and morals are expected in the workplace environment. And I would say that, to my knowledge, the City Council has been that, and I hope that it continues to be so.
Right.
It's a very professional, I feel the same way, very professional and respectful relationships. I think what we don't know, and something we do want to, we've talked about in the caucus, is thinking about whether or not for our staff and the central staff are having that same experience and wanting to make sure there's a venue for them.
Right. I think we really have to lead by example. And I will say that although our schedules every day are extremely busy and just overwhelming, I do appreciate the meetings and the briefings that we do have as a council to talk about anti-harassment and workplace environment and how you work together. Because I think at times we spend so much time with our staff and colleagues, more so than our families, that sometimes, you know, there could be any instances where things cross the line or people get too close. So to me, having that level of expertise come in and train us and our staff, it gives us a greater understanding so that we do not cross any of those borders, because we really do have to lead by example and demonstrate that we can be better than what we're seeing in the paper.
Now, many of the males who are running for Speaker have proposed an end to the 2-term limit
Oh, yeah.
law and to make it 3 terms. And I've heard, Councilmember Chin, some people suggest this might actually be good for gender balance in the council. Do you have any opinion about that?
Well, I think that it has to go through another referendum. I mean, the voter has voted twice on that. I think for us who've been there, and this is going to be my 3rd term, that a lot of things that we want to accomplish takes a long
And you're allowed
period
3
of time.
because some were grandparented in
Thank you.
Yes,
from the Bloomberg
Well
3rd-term
done.
exception, right?
Yeah, and I think that makes a difference, because a lot of the, you know, whether it's development projects or parks projects, things that we've advocated on takes a longer period of time. And also, it takes time to really build that experience. I mean, the first year or 2, you really have to learn the ropes. So I think that it makes sense to do that. But I want to go back to the last question about, you know, the training that we get is really helpful in terms of anti-discrimination and conflict of interest and things like that. But I think in this term in the council, the woman leadership, I think, has been a great shining example of what women leaders can do. I mean, a lot of us who chair a committee, you know, Helen with contract, women's issue, like, we really stand out to really show that we mean business. We get things done. So in that sense, we win the respect of a lot of our male colleagues and council member, and with a woman speaker leading the way, I think that makes a big difference.
You know, it's interesting. I was in a meeting yesterday with colleagues where, in general, when this group gets together, there are more men than women. And because of a variety of reasons, the new women, our new women colleagues were in the meeting, and it was roughly half and half. And I was thinking about what a very different meeting it was. You know, first, most importantly, I think, there was less posturing. It was much more a deliberative discussion, contentious at times, disagreements for sure, but the women just don't posture. They're sincerely asking, well, what do you think about this? Very much like how it is in our women's caucus meetings, where we are genuinely working something out. But in this particular meeting, Margaret was there. I don't know if you felt the same way. It was a noticeable difference for me. I felt like the women in the room had my back. we're intentional, and we're not posturing. That's one of the big differences.
Probably helps that almost all of city council is one party.
Well,
Coming from the assembly, that does make a difference.
You were in
I
the
have to
state
say.
assembly before
I
you
was
were
in
in
the
city
state
council.
assembly where we had no term limits, and I ran for this seat with the expectation that it would be 2 4-year terms. Certainly, if the voters of the city allow that to happen through a voter referendum, I would support the 3 terms. I do think it is important. It takes you almost 4 years to learn the job, then the second 4 years to actually do the job. And so I do think in terms of what Margaret is saying, it's really important. But, I will say that, there are some of us that do have future aspirations. So 4 years for me is where I know that I probably will be
Right.
if that doesn't happen. So I'm gearing up for something better.
something
You want to announce the mayor?
Go ahead, no, it's not mayor.
It's not mayor?
No mayor.
But Brian, you just said something that I think is critical. We're all Democrats, right? And so for the electorate who's not in the weeds like we are, either about politics or policy or community, we're all Democrats. So what's the difference? Why come out in a primary? And when you look at voter turnout in many of the districts, 7,000 people vote, and with
Small.
4,000 votes, you win.
right.
There was a race this year where a woman lost by 300 votes. And it's part of the reason why we can't energize that excitement from the Women's March and what's happening with Trump, because people just don't get it, that locally it makes a difference whether or not there's a woman or not, and we have this big decline, but people think you're all Democrats.
But you both made general arguments for a 3rd term. Is there a gender-specific argument, like it makes it easier for there to be gender balance on the council, or is that not really the thing for
I
anybody?
think the main look, I'm actually not interested in this topic, but the only numeric reason to do it is when term limits were extended, then 20 people who would have left this time round didn't. And so in the next term, 40 seasoned members will leave, roughly. And 10 members will be going into their 2nd term. I hope the electorate did a great job with those 10 members, because they're going to be the leaders of the next council.
Well, one
They'll
of the
have
things
seniority.
that we are working on, and you heard about this 21 and 21
Yes.
initiative. So in the year 21,
Talk about it. I've heard of it. A
Yeah.
lot of the viewers probably haven't.
well, we
21 and
want to
21.
get 21, at least 21 female council member in the year 2021,
And that's
where
the
a
next
lot of
city
us,
election.
yeah, next election, where a lot of us will be term limited out. Part of that is start preparing that pipeline. But it's not just women running. We want to encourage more women to run, but also women who could be chief of staff, campaign manager, to support, staff people that can help getting women elected. So really starting building that pipeline of women leadership so that we can have more women representative in the city council in the future. And that's something that we're working on.
And the truth is, 4 years seems a long way off, but it goes really fast. And
It's called one election cycle.
And so I think what we're trying to do with our women's report, we're coming out with a 2nd one, Laurie and I, is putting out a call to the women in New York City. If you're interested in politics, if you're interested in your community, go to a community board meeting. Try to get on the community board. Go to a town hall, ask questions, meet with us. All of us are dying to be mentors. But most importantly, realize there are many different paths to victory. I think that my path to victory was probably very different than each of these women. For me, I did not go the political club route. I very much built my own organization because I knew that the political club route wasn't open to
Yeah.
me.
So we have just a few minutes left. I wonder what each of you thinks are the main priorities for City Council for 2018, particularly what you would call women's issues, or it doesn't have to be that. It could just be anything. Councilmember Cumbo?
I would say as a new mom, and adding to that, that for women that are thinking about running for office, they should not see perfection as a prerequisite to leadership, that you don't have to have the perfect family environment in terms of picture perfect, in terms of the stereotypes that, I ran for office the first time, and now I'm a mom. And so I ran for office as a mom without a traditional family, doing it differently, and you don't have to be perfect in that way. But the advice that, I would give to women is to stay strong. Don't wait for someone to think that you should be the leader. Utilize your own experiences, whether it's working in a daycare center or a teacher or whatever it is. But I would say moving forward, some of the issues that I'll be championing will continue to be paid family leave, making sure that it's accessible for all families throughout the city of New York. I think that's very important.
Expanding the paid
Expanding
family
it.
leave.
We did a great job in the last term, but now we have to have that particular legislation reach all families.
Let me get everybody else in on one. We have about 15 seconds for each of you. One big issue for
Affordable housing,
2018.
making sure New York City is affordable. Our seniors can retire, enjoy their life, and stay in the community that they helped to build.
Everybody's going to say affordable housing.
I agree with housing, but I will add that we should obviously look at expanding the Young Women's Initiative so that we can provide even more mentoring opportunities. College, CUNY access is great. I would argue high school, middle school, elementary, as early as we can to try to build up the next leaders, because as Helen says, 4 years goes by very quickly. We need our successors tomorrow, literally, so that they are already in the pipeline, because we know the challenges that women face running for office, and we want their elections and their campaigns to be easier than ours. So I think the Young Women's Initiative, we should definitely expand on so we can greater outreach to more women through the city.
Number one issue for 2018?
Pay equity. At this rate, I think my great-great-great-great-grandchildren will have pay equity, and for these women, it'll be 3 more greats after that. So
What does
that's
pay equity
outrageous.
mean? How do you legislate pay equity?
It's very
beyond what we
challenging.
have?
And we've done a good job this term of taking a few legislative steps. There has to be more. I don't know the answer. We have to work harder at getting there, though, because the misogyny of the pay inequity is one of the biggest crimes of our century.
Thank you to all 4 of you for coming in. It's rare to see any 4 council members in the media all together. We're glad that the 4 of you could be here, even though unfortunately you are more than a third of all the women on the 51-member city council. Good luck to all of you in the new term, and we look forward to continuing the conversations.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And that's our program for today. We're here each week, midweek, at this hour, at the intersection of city politics and everyday life, where the personal is political. If you missed any part of the program, you can find us at CUNY.tv, and do tune in to my daily radio program, 10 a.m. to noon on WNYC 93.9 FM and AM 820. I'm Brian Lehrer. Thanks for watching.